How were the pyramids built? It's something they still can't do today. But they tell you we savages and we primitive and all of that. You see what I'm saying? We the slaves. You see what I'm saying? But at the same time, they teach we slaves in the so-called education book, which is an indoctrination book. We the same people that built them pyramids. With something you still can't do today. The British, the French, the Americans, everybody, the Chinese, everybody done went over there. Japanese, and all everybody already try to go over there and do it. You can't. Russians and all that shit. You can't do it. So we was teaching about alchemy. You see what I'm saying? Alchemy is a study of, you know, uh, just like chemistry, all the chemical substances. But alchemy is spiritual. You see what I'm saying? Everything in the known world, everything in the not known world. You see what metaphysics. You see what I'm saying? Metaphysics. You see what I'm saying? So when you dealing with that type of science, which is still being studied to this day. See, Western man has it still gotten there. You talk about technology. Technology has been on the planet for millions of years. Because it took millions of years to think of that type of technology to build those pyramids. But we seem to uh, think technology is synonymous with Western man. That's just not true. That's just not true. That's just not true. So today, you know, many, you know, thousands of years later, we have created a technology on off what the ancients had. Because it's when you look at it, it's pyramids all around the world. It's pyramids all around the world. You see what I'm saying? And you know, the technology that it took to build it. You know, Western man hasn't still reached that level. So you could call the ancient man primitive and try to say all these cap words and all of that. Facts. You could try to say that, but in reality, ancient man is way more advanced. Cause why you gotta study ancient man all the time to figure out where everything is going as far as technology, architecture, and everything. You go study the ancients, but then you try to make it seem plagiarism. You plagiarize it and try to make it seem like it's you. Scribble somebody else's name out and then present it to the people as if you done it yourself. When in reality, you went and got that from the ancient peoples, from the tribes peoples, and you know, the shaman and all that, the priests, the you know, in the bushes. You know, they still live in the bushes. But y'all look at them like they crazy. Imagine how they look at you. Like they look like us, but they like in Black Panther, it was the same way. They dress as how we normally would dress, as if, but we done been stolen and brought into the Western world. So now we dress different. So imagine how the tribes people look at us, like, mm, mm. Like, you know, we done took on another culture. Excuse me. We done took on another culture, and we dress like the enemy. You see, dress like the enemy. But the pyramids, you know, were built, you know, as airports, as ancient spaceships to go to the next world. When you read it, that's what it's gonna say. It's preparing the king to go, or the emperor or whatever, to go to the next world. So in essence, it's a spaceship, but it got many functions. It's also, it's also, you know, at that time the desert is encroaching. The desert is encroaching. And you gotta think about it. The three pyramids in Giza is at the center of the planet. And I'm gonna get into how they was built. But, you know, as the desert encroaching, they trying to, uh, use those as ancient weights too. These are the heaviest structures on the planet. So they trying to, you know, act as a pendulum, you know, to shift the earth axis so the sun would tilt and the Nile Valley would go back green. Because if you go back to 27,000 years ago, the Nile is completely green. Go back to 15,000 years ago. The Nile is a green land, a savanna, just like uh so-called sub-Saharan Africa is, like what they call a so-called jungle or what, a greenery. But today is a desert. So some counterweights for the earth too. But you know, this you got this Egyptian magic white powder. And I heard Bobby Hemmett talk about it. And I also heard Ivan Van Sertima talk about it when he was talking about, he was with one of his colleagues. I think I spoke about this before, maybe on my Facebook. If you already know my Facebook, go to Drop Power Facebook. But he was saying he was at a conference and a lecture with the Europeans, and they was coming up with these, saying how the pyramids were built. They talking about, you hear all these different theories on how it was built. You know, uh, 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 that's a different video for a different day. But uh, you know, he was talking about levitation, and Ivan Van Sertima had kind of came to that conclusion, but his assistant was kind of talking too much out loud at the conference. He was like, "Well, why don't you just tell me it's like that? What they doing? They levitating the stones." He like, "Shut up, man! You can't come because when you in, you got them degrees or whatever. It's only a certain level they'll let you go, with the information before you might lose your job at the university that you're teaching in because you got to stay under their curriculum. But see, that's another thing too, because they keeping you at their level. How can another man, uh, dismiss all the research you done proven and found, and just because it don't line up with his indoctrination education, he just totally dismiss it. But the Egyptians had this magic white powder. We was talking about that alchemy. You see what I'm saying? Now, you can go to the British Museum, you can look at it and see this little powder, and you can sprinkle. And Bobby Hemmett was talking about it too. And you could just sprinkle it on things, and the quartzite will float. And we know quartzite is very magnetic too. Just like the magnets, if you push them both together, they'll push apart. Well, imagine that 1,000 times fold. Because how you going to get a 10,000 pound block or 10-ton block 400, because the Khufu is 450 feet. How you gonna get it 450 feet? The alchemy. They had the magic white powder, and when they would put it, sprinkle it on something, it would automatically start to float. Now they keep this on the hush hush, but if you go to the British Museum, you can see it. You can definitely see it. So when you study alchemy, you're going to see chemistry, all of those 7 liberal arts. You see, all those 7 liberal arts. But see, alchemy is something new and that they still study. It's not new, it's ancient. You see what I'm saying? But don't nobody, they keep that on the hush hush so you won't never know. But the Egyptian magic white powder and the pyramids were built by levitating the stones up. And quartzite is very magnetic, which means you're dealing with electricity. Drop out.